Hi folks, Tim here again with timsclass.com. Today we're going to go over some basic rigging techniques. You can see on my table, I've got a lot of different things, but it boils down to three primary types of equipment that you use to rig. First of all, let's discuss what is rigging. Rigging in simple terms is just the securing of material or equipment in order to move it. So if I'm moving a bulldozer from one point to the other, I've got to be able to rig that down to the trailer to where it won't come off the trailer. If I need to move a stack of lumber 20 stories in the air with a crane, I've got to be able to secure that material where it will not move and I can safely transport it up to the area that it's going to. So that, in a nutshell, is what basic rigging is about. You got three types of slings when it comes to moving material. You've got synthetic slings here, and this will give you a good idea what they are. Notice it's got a tag on it. This particular one is a cross arm strap. It'll give you all the details as far as how much weight it will hold, what the bearing capacity of it is, everything about where it's made. All of that is listed here on the tag. Okay, and it's interesting to know this particular one's made by Miller. If this tag is missing or not readable, you cannot use the sling. So the first thing you want to do with any nylon strap is you want to look it over, make sure there's no bad spots on the sling before you use it, okay? If it had a slight nick or a tear or maybe even a pick on it at some point, someplace, you would not want to use it, okay? You'll also notice, you can't see it because this particular one doesn't have any flaws in it, but if it had a nick in it, you would see a red thread pop out. I don't have any damaged ones that I could show you, but if it was damaged, you'd see that red thread popping out, and that's called a tattletale. What that is, it's gonna let you know that there's something wrong with this sling. Maybe it's been overstretched. Maybe it's been used for something too heavy. But anyway, that's something to look for. Anytime you see red threads popping out of a sling, that's a sign, don't use that sling. So we have synthetic slings. This is one example. Over here, we've got more common examples. These are simple tie downs. Anybody's ever had a boat or a motorcycle, you probably use some of these. This is a simple, you lift there, you pull it tight and let go and it grabs it. And that helps you tighten up something maybe in the back of your truck. You have ratchet strap type. Once again, these have all got a label on them that tell their weight capacity. We can't even read that, it's so tiny. I think this particular one's good for about 400 pounds. But you would hook that in on one side of your truck, hook the other side in on the other side of your truck. Let's just move some of this out of the way. You pull this to where it's tight, all right? And then you start the ratcheting process. And I think I've got this thing in here backwards. And as I ratchet, you wouldn't want this twisted motion, but it's gonna pull it tight, okay? You get the basic idea. All right, this is a larger ratchet strap. You see these a lot of times on the back of semi-trucks where they've got several of them holding the load down. And this is capable of holding up to 4,000 pounds. So these are very commonly used throughout the industry for tying stuff down. So you have synthetic slings and straps. The next thing you have is wire ropes. And you look over here, I kept the label on this one. This is a 5/16 inch, it's 20 feet long, and it tells you right here, this is capable of holding 1,960 pounds. So it's got two grab hooks on the end. This particular one is used for towing, but you could also use it for tying stuff down. The wire ropes, the things you gotta look for on those is making sure there's no rust, which this is brand new, so obviously it has no rust. You'd make sure there's no broken strands. And if you look real close at this, you'll see you've got layer upon layer of wires. Those are called lays, and you got a main line that runs through the middle of it, and then lays go around it, and then wires around each lay. This is comprised of, I think, 36 different wires that actually go into the lay of this, okay? So you have a wire rope. Your next and last thing is chains. And you see I've got some chains rigged up here. I've got this chain here. This particular device enables you to get your chain tight. You can pull it as tight as you can pull it. And then you're gonna hook that into the grab hook, and then you ratchet that down and tighten it. Anytime you're doing that, you would want to tie this together to keep this from bouncing up and coming loose. But again, that's a good way to tie things down in the back of a truck, okay? So you have chains. This particular one is capable of holding almost 5,000 pounds. It's 5/16 inch chain, heavy duty stuff, okay? Now putting it all together, I just set up, well, actually, let's go over a couple other things. Let's go over shackles. Come around on this side and you'll see this is probably the most common type of shackle, and just excuse this made in China. I wouldn't use this on a job site. You typically want to use one that's made in America that's been certified, but these are all they had at Lowe's. So this is a screw pin shackle, and it's going to perform pretty much the same thing as this screw pin link does up here. You would put the chain or the sling or whatever into here, and then you're going to take and tighten this up. Just screw it down. It's important you always just hand tighten those. Never use a tool to tighten that. So you hand tighten that screw pin, all right? And then when you put this on, say I were set that up in here, you never put the pin against the load. In this case, the table is the load. So these chains would be hooked into here, and this would be hooked onto our lift, okay? All right, you got some regular grab hooks. This one's got a secure thing that keeps whatever from coming back out. We've got some smaller shackles right there, the same concept. These are screw pin shackles. And then we've got a master link similar to this one up here that you simply screw it down. Whoop. And it will lock onto what's below it. And that lets you hook any kind of chain or sling to it. So it can become a master link, as we've got up here. And you see here, I've got 4 equally linked chains that I've put together on this table. I've just rigged up some little hooks here in 4 corners of it. In my basement, I've got a big steel I-beam with a hoist tied to a trolley. And that's so that I can move heavy material back and forth or get something heavy off my truck. And that gives you an idea of how that would work. But let's say we want to pick this up. The first thing we want to do is we've got our load pretty well balanced into the center. Putting all the weight right into the center. Incidentally, we forgot to go over the shouldered eye bolts. This would actually be a much better setup than these. If I were to try and pick something up, I would want to drill a hole through there, put this eye bolt in, and it'd give me a much more secure and heavy duty rating. We're not picking up anything too awful heavy. All right, so I've got my 4 chains in place. I'm just gonna pick this table up. See how easy that is? This table probably weighs about 400 pounds with all the stuff on it. Nothing to it for this whole setup. That's called rigging. Makes life much easier. And there you have it. That's my basic lesson on rigging today. Hope you have a good one. Thank you.